Coverage which makes Channel 3 your station.
Before 1979, live breaking news was always covered on the ground. Then,
only Channel 3 has live Copter 3.
KCRA launched a new era in local television coverage.
We had a dedicated Cessna that we used for traffic reports in radio. On a lark, I had gotten my helicopter license, knowing I could never use it because it was too expensive, but then all of a sudden things started happening a few years later, and Channel 3 was one of the first stations in the country to actually own its own helicopter.
Moments later, Dan Shively and Live Copter 3 were first on the scene.
I was here, and I jumped into that.
Live Copter 3 was a huge game changer for us.
Sacramento Sheriff's Department helicopter star went down in the area.
It put us up in the air. It gave us a perspective that we never had seen before.
Widen out and take a look at the panorama. This is what it's all about. It is just gorgeous up here today.
It gave us the ability to respond to things very, very quickly. It was unique, it was different.
Like I say, this is just a very, very spread out fire.
It was a new tool and we learned how to use it very effectively.
One of the things I didn't realize was the helicopter is a celebrity.
It's here.
Everybody knows Live Copter 3.
Faster, so you get breaking news even sooner.
It's developed a lot of respect over the years thanks to, well, Dan Shively. He was the pioneer there. And so I had some pretty big shoes to fill.
You have to remember, when we first got the helicopter, there was really no equipment available. We had to, make it pretty much ourselves, and it developed over the years.
This is what the weather is like in the heart of the Sierra.
There was a big avalanche at Alpine Meadows in the early 80s, and the weather turned so bad we had to land, and I was stuck up there with the photographer for 3 days. And that was an interesting one too, in that we got there and we had to drop dynamite out of the helicopter.
Dynamite was loaded aboard Live Copter 3.
And by virtue of the fact we had a helicopter and were there, we became part of the story. I said, who's supposed to be doing this? And they said, well, the highway patrol, but they couldn't make it because of bad weather. Well, what am I doing here? But it was an interesting story, and they loaded up the helicopter with a couple of guys, and we went around the cornices and threw out chunks of dynamite and blew up these pieces of snow hanging over.
2 years earlier, Live Copter 3 was called on for a much different kind of story and assignment, covering an extortion attempt at a Lake Tahoe casino.
There was some people rolled a bomb into Harveys and then wanted a ransom for it to not detonate. And this was before satellite, so there was really no way to get a live shot out of downtown South Lake Tahoe.
Experts tried to defuse the bomb, but in the process, it went off.
Used a portable microwave transmitter to go from the ground to the helicopter, and I was up at 12,000 feet, and that was line of sight back to Sacramento, and we were able to cover that story live, and the other stations around town could not figure out how we were doing that.
Dave Allen in Live Copter 3 over the King Fire, where we're seeing the fire coming very close to Highway 50.
One of the best ways to see a fire is from the air. You don't really get that impact of how big an area it is or how large that fire is. You don't get that unless you see it from the air.
Check it out, a growing wildfire burning out of control in Tuolumne and Mariposa counties.
The rim fire was the one probably that sticks in my mind the most. Plus how that fire ran was very different. It was dozens and dozens of small fires that all combined to make that whole area go up.
Let's go ahead and show you, here's the map of where this all started.
October 2014, a crime spree and manhunt stretching from Sacramento to the Sierra foothills that would leave 2 sheriff's deputies dead. Live Copter 3 was in the air for hours, helping us provide critical information to the communities affected.
Also have Live Copter 3 over the scene to give you a very unique aerial view of the search.
There was quite a bit going on. We launched in the helicopter and we had things going on from Arden Fair all the way out to Auburn.
The area of Belmont is where they are currently chasing somebody right now.
We had a reporter there, and that frees me to just simply fly, work the radios, and act as an airborne producer. There's many hats that get worn from the pilot seat. There's the pilot hat, the producer hat, the director hat, and now the reporting hat as well.
We see 3 helicopters circling overhead.
Whether it's covering fires, floods, or other disasters,
Live Copter 3 over the scene of the fatal crash in Orland shows the extent of the damage.
tracking traffic on a busy holiday weekend.
It's pretty from here, not so pretty if you're those folks going across the top tonight.
Or following a pair of wayward whales that swam from the Golden Gate all the way to West Sacramento.
We're getting some good tail flapping here.
Live Copter 3 has given us a unique perspective on places, people, and major events all across Northern California.
So press from all over the world have their eyes on Sacramento and these 3 hometown heroes today.